for the introduction. Thanks a lot for having me at such a late hour. So thanks for joining. Like what I would like to talk about today is a little bit, like as the previous speakers have said already, a little bit on the experiences that we had with COVID, like what 2020 meant for us, as well as share some insights from how our customers actually looked at it and how we went through the crisis, if you want, together with our customers and how we basically supported here. So that's what I would like to take you through. So how was COVID for us? And I think I'm sort of like picking up the points the previous speakers did already around Corona. I mean, like one thing that was certain was for sure the uncertainty in there. I mean, like back in the days in February, March, we saw productions basically shutting down significantly with huge impacts and quite drastic changes in demand on the customer side. I mean, we all know, at least in Germany, we had the demand for toilet paper for some reason going up by like more than 200%, basically leaving empty shelves. That was kind of ridiculous, to be honest. It makes you feel ashamed of being a German to some extent. But if you hear that French people were more after like red wine. But yeah, so that was huge fluctuations in demand that we've seen. And yet at the same time, we saw border closures. So traffic jams at the borders, for example, in and out of Poland, like Germany-Poland border, traffic jams up to 100 kilometers and more. So significant potential disruptions in the supply chain of our customers effectively. So COVID was really a roller coaster. If you look into data, I think this is quite a nice graph here, which illustrates it quite nicely. So what are we looking at here? These are two lines that show price and capacity, and comparing this month over month, what we've seen in 2019 and also what we've seen in 2020. So if you look at March 2020, what you see is like when the shutdown basically happened, like everything before was sort of almost the same as previous years. But then suddenly, because of the shutdown, the capacity in the market, meaning truck capacity, skyrocketed. I mean, that was really interesting to see, while at the same time, prices almost stayed stable. The reaction that towards mid of the year, you've seen that capacity actually dropped significantly, partially driven by, for example, governments supporting trucking companies financially. So it was, for some period of time, actually more beneficial to them taking trucks off the market instead of leaving them in the market. So there's a lot of volatility in the market. That's basically the key message of what we're observing. And since mid of the year, actually capacity is significantly below previous years, which quite frankly, I mean, we are one of the logistics providers in this group now, which really put us and also our colleagues, obviously, quite a lot under pressure if suddenly capacity in the market collapses. So bringing this back into what that really requires us, right? I mean, we've heard the word resilient now quite a few times. And in particular, if you want to like further grow your business, there's a huge demand of like what logistics plays in that process. And what we hear from customers, they are actually faced with quite a few challenges. Like one, obviously, the logistics and like the logistics department has to be flexible, right? Of course, you have to cope with the volatility in the market. But two, it also has to be reliable, right? I mean, you have to have trusted partners in there, trusted logistics service providers that are capable of providing the flexibility, providing a proper quality. And third, of course, as logistics is in, I would say, every company is a cost center, you have to be cost effective. I mean, there's no point really like increasing that cost. You're certainly going to have a hard time. And then lastly, as we've heard in the previous speech from P44, the whole thing has to be transparent. You want to know the data, you want to know when stuff arrives. So all of this is basically something that our customers tell us, well, I mean, this is what is being asked for, but how to do it. So on the flexibility part, right? I mean, how can you actually manage to increase the flexibility either from your existing service providers, or where do you find others who are not only giving you additional flexibility, but also like how do you know the quality of new logistics service providers before doing business with them? I mean, yes, you can run a tender, but how do you really know how good they are? And then third, on the cost-effective part, right? I mean, how can you, like in an environment where costs, quite frankly, are in most of the cases rock bottom already? Like, how can you like even bring this further down? And especially like, because usually like when you talk to freight forwarders, times of uncertainty and times of volatility is where they really start earning money. If you are on the receiving end of this, like how can you stop this from happening? And then lastly, again, as P44 said, like how can I bring this visibility into my supply chain? So let me try getting some answers to the question I just put up here. And we basically position ourselves as having part of the answer here. So us as Instafreight, we are basically a logistics service company doing two services. One is digital freight forwarding, where we are a freight forwarder. I think what the key that differentiates us here is that end to end, from like order placement all the way through to like issuing an invoice at some point, the whole thing is digital, and you can connect to us digitally as well. We focus on like cross-border trade lanes, which works for many very large shippers. And this is basically where we are a trusted partner with a quite big network. What I want to talk about today is what we call digital transport management. What we do here is we use the platform that we've built over the past 4.5 years and basically execute the business, the transportation that a shipper has, basically execute this via our system by not only providing a platform, but also a team that's actually responsible for doing so. The difference also here is where in freight forwarding, we basically, like as any freight forwarder, we give you a price and our margin is sort of baked in. For the TM, we do this open book. So if we source super good at the market, we hand over the savings to you guys. So I think this is like, those are the two models. Like, how does this work in practice? Let me quickly walk you through. So like when you guys, like in your TMS or wherever you basically issue transport orders, we basically get them into our system. That could be via a web interface, that could be via an API, it doesn't really matter. Many different ways how to connect your system to ours. And what happens then on our end, we basically first like onboard the existing logistics service providers that you have. By onboarding, that means if you have existing rate card agreements, for example, we onboard them. We get in touch with the carriers, we onboard them, we onboard the telematic systems. We actually also, by the way, work with, for example, P44, but there are also some other companies who do a similar service. So we are basically integrated with all of them. And once we have your existing carrier base, we add ours to the game as well. And when a load comes in, what we do is we match it with the best carrier. The best carrier could be someone who does it for the cheapest price. The best carrier could be someone who does it for the best quality, or both. I mean, there are different criteria, obviously. So we match a load to a truck. Our team is then also responsible for executing the business. So we make sure that, I mean, most of the transports are automated. However, I mean, logistics is a people's business, right? And things always go wrong. So there is a team of experts basically taking care of those exceptions, and also making sure that trucks are really onboarded onto the tracking. Again, as P44 said, there are quite a few telematic systems out there, and there are some providers like P44, like aggregating this data, but you really need to make sure that your LSPs are really on those systems. So this is basically what we're doing, and we're fetching the signal independent of if it's P44, Shipeo, or Sixfold, doesn't really matter. We all aggregate this into one system, one control tower, where you see all the shipments that you're running. And then lastly, we basically do everything, including collecting the proof of deliveries, ideally in a digital format. Yes, we can scan stuff. That's not preferred. We are a digital company. We typically either work with scans, we work with like actual digital PODs, like ePODs, and we also do the freight settlement. So it's basically an end-to-end solution that you can take care of your business, and we're gonna run the execution of your transportation. To make this maybe on a few examples, maybe a bit more tangible. So we have basically 3 use cases that we typically walk through with customers. So the first one is our solution to Spot. I mean, what we've seen with customers that between 20 to 30% of loads of the customers are actually given on a spot basis. So there's not a fixed contract. Yes, there is a group of carriers they're working with, a group of LSPs they're working with, but the prices is found in the then and there. What we then do is, as I said, since we've onboarded the carriers, we're tendering those loads to existing carrier base. At the same time, like we have around 25,000 trucking companies. So that's the equivalent of around 150,000 trucks operating across Europe, whereas like there's a center of gravity, if you want, around Germany, Poland, France, but around 25,000 trucking companies, where we then also tender those loads to. We get the feedback on the prices, and then like in collaboration with you guys, then saying, okay, if the price is below X, just give it to the guy. If you have a good rating on the carrier. So we know the quality of the carriers because we've done business with them before. We give it to the guys, and all the savings that we're generating from this, we give open book to you straight away. Like what we then do is, I mean, obviously we are not charity, but we are charging a transaction fee per load, which is like somewhere around 50, like 12 to 15 euro, depending on your volumes for the spot tenders. The second example, or to finish the first one off, the beauty here is you don't have to do the vetting. Like all of this is done by us. You have one guy who's giving you an invoice. The complexity is with us. Second, contracted carriers. As I said, we onboard what you have today, and we basically work extensively on automating the dispatching, like really building those cascades that you need to be like super fast in getting your loads to the right carrier. And then once the carrier have the loads, we make sure, and our execution team makes sure that the tracking really works and that we can be proactive about notifications, that it's not you calling us or worst case, your customer calling you asking where the load is. No, we can be proactive about it because we actively manage that the carriers and the trucks are onboarded into the system, which then gives you the data and insights to like talk to your carriers, or like we can do the talk based on data, have those performance meetings. It's like amazing to see how much you can move the needle if you can prove his data where people were late but they were claiming they were early, or like someone did not let them go through to the gate. Like all this you can see in data, and we can give you that visibility so that we can have those discussions together with your LSPs. The last one, strategic tender and optimization. As I said, the whole thing is basically about performance management of your supply chain based on data. The beauty is because we know where trucking companies are going. If we feel like I need an alternative supplier on a particular trade lane, because we know where those guys are going, we can tender like on a lane basis. You don't have to do the big strategic tender like once a year, doing it for like whatever 50 million euro freight spend. Even within a single, like within the year, we can tender on single trade lanes to the right carriers. Again, we know where the carriers are going because we've done previous shipments. We are tracking where the GPS is going. We know where they put fuel into that tank, etc. I mean, a lot of data points are being collected. So we have a network with like a knowledge network, if you want, like where carrier companies are going, and we can reach out super targeted to the right guys. So we're not sort of mass mailing into the market, say, I need capacity on a certain lane. No, like we can be super targeted. And once we found a carrier that's doing this for a competitive price, we come back to you and say, look, like today you're running this for 600. I found a guy who we've been doing business with who's operating a fleet of 15 trucks. He can do 3 runs a day for you for 550 euro. Do you want to do it? And yeah, then we put him on there. You take the cost savings, we take care of the execution. So this is basically the 3 use cases that we're doing in transport management. So you might wonder, like, how far have we actually gotten as a startup, right? I mean, yes, we were founded mid 2016. Just to provide a little bit of data here, we are active for our customers in a bit more than 15 countries all across Europe, with a bit more than 180 employees. Around 40 of those are actually developers, software developers. So it's a real log tech company behind this. We've grown organically all the way through. So we did not do M&A and like doing crazy stuff. But still the carrier base grew to an astonishing, I'm still proud of this, to be honest, 25,000 carriers, like growing every day, and around 2,500 shippers who are giving loads to us daily. So it's quite a big network. And if you want to learn more about it, I'd be super happy to get in touch. I mean, you can scan this QR code here, or just like reach out on LinkedIn. I'd be super happy to start the discussion, learn a bit more how COVID was for you, and if there's something where we can eventually work together. Thank you.